The Edge of Knowing by Jason Derek Watson. Chapter 4. A Subtle Invitation. Thomas wasn't always chasing a good time, but he wasn't one to ignore curiosity either. Birthday Eve offered an easy excuse to step out of routine, to pretend for one night that spontaneity still had a place in New Hope. His colleagues, like most residents of the inner rings, had long since grown allergic to the unpredictable. After a few decades, party-going became more ritual than rebellion. Social circles settled like sediment, predictable, dense, comforting. But Birthday Eve remained an anomaly, a sanctioned divergence from order, a kind of pressure valve in a system that never stopped tightening. The clinics ran lighter, the streets shimmered with overlays, augmented ribbons of color drifting through the air, projections of celebration schedules looping above storefronts and skyline edges. Holograms erupted in carefully choreographed bursts, floating lanterns, animated beasts from extinct mythologies, live performances rendered by shadow puppets that never truly touched the ground. And that's where it had started. An ad, not from a brand he recognized, slipped into his peripheral queue earlier that week. It wasn't flashy. No neon call-outs, no transactional offers. Just a simple message, nearly organic in its delivery. A soft voiceover, two blurred silhouettes walking into a corridor that pulsed with low golden light. This year, try the unexpected. It lasted less than 4 seconds. No tags, no QR uplink. It didn't lodge itself like typical sponsored material, but it returned later that night, disguised in a different wrapper. This time, it was projected as a momentary flicker on a bus shelter screen. The same voice, the same phrasing. And then again, the next day, part of an ambient soundscape in a tea shop. Always fleeting. Always embedded. By the third time, Thomas had stopped believing it was coincidence. Still, it didn't feel like targeting. Not quite. More like fishing. It was casting a net, a wide one, and he had, inexplicably, opened his gill. As he left the clinic that evening, the city felt freshly unwrapped. Augmented streamers danced through the boulevards like living ink. People wore outfits too strange to be practical and too curated to be spontaneous. The inner ring was alive in a way it rarely allowed itself to be. He passed familiar faces, their edges softened by laughter and drink. Everyone played their part. Festivity was expected, performance or otherwise. Someone called out, "Central ring again, Thomas." He paused, then smiled. "Not this year." The colleague tilted their head. "Outer rings? You?" Thomas gave a non-committal shrug. "Maybe I'm tired of polished glass and perfect playlists." They replied. "Well, watch your overlays. Things get weirder the further out you go." "I'm counting on it." He skipped the usual post-work diversions. No lounge stops, no call-ins to a local eatery. Just a quiet preparatory ride home with music in his ears and the hollow ads that always follow him. The promotional feeds had shifted for the evening, now pulsing with curated parties, travel incentives, and special guest lists meant to entice. The algorithms knew what people wanted tonight: escape, glamour, a little bit of myth. He passed gardens that smelled of engineered jasmine, past reflection pools with floating geometric runes that whispered affirmations when you looked too long. It was in one of those pools, just for a moment, that he saw the corridor again. A mirrored flash beneath the surface, the same soft light, the same two blurred figures. This time it felt deliberate, connected. By the time he returned to his apartment, the idea had settled. The central ring parties, decadent as they were, always collapsed into strategic chatter. Networking disguised as dance, courtship and its thinly veiled chemical lighting and scent modulation. He could predict the flavor of every drink and the outcome of every conversation. This year, he wanted something else. The wardrobe mirror offered him a dozen curated looks, tailored for inner elegance, for respectable mischief. He rejected each in turn. "No," he said aloud, "too sleek, too approved." Eventually, a new option surfaced, one outside the usual heuristics. A charcoal grey jacket with dull metal seams, breathable boots with terrain sensitivity, and a collar designed to attract a certain amount of attention. An odd feature, certainly by inner ring standards. He accepted it without hesitation. In the bathroom, he triggered his physiological prep routine. Vials were dispensed. Mild stimulant, hangover resistance, immune buffer, aesthetic enhancer. Subtle, he said, but confident. The machine obliged. He pocketed a backup capsule, just in case. Outside, the night had ripened. Above the skyline, party drones painted ephemeral displays in violet light. A choir of artificial voices sang in polyphonic loops across the rings, each note shaped to local acoustic topography. Everything hummed with anticipation. And then, without prompt, a final message crossed his overlay. No sender, no interface. One night, one change. That's all it takes. It vanished the moment he focused on it. He could have dismissed it. Could have reported it. He didn't. Instead, he stepped onto the outbound capsule, following an ethereal pull he could feel, but could not name. Time slid past like the pages of a book he had never bothered to read. And for the first time in years, Thomas didn't quite know what would happen next. He liked that. Chapter 4. A Subtle Invitation. The Edge of Knowing by Jason Derek Watson.